What's up, everybody? How we doing? Matt Modi here with OddsJam. Let's lock in some DFS plays for today. We're looking at PrizePicks. We're looking at Underdog. Best value on these DFS entries for today, Monday, January 6th. So mostly looking at NHL and NBA player props for today. Of course, all of these you can lock in on PrizePicks. I will say the strategy for PrizePicks is entirely different than actual regular sports betting. I get a lot of questions, like if I do an NBA player props video every morning, and I get a lot of questions about like, oh, hey, are these good to put on PrizePicks? And the answer is, I don't know, but most likely not, which is kind of confusing for people to understand, which I obviously completely understand. There's just two different methods of strategy when it comes to PrizePicks and sports betting. When you're betting on sports, you're looking for value. So you could bet on a play that's at plus 200 odds. That could be good value if every other book is at like plus 150. Despite the fact that that bet is unlikely to hit, if you're just looking at probability of that bet hitting, right? Like plus 200, anything plus money means that the win percentage is below 50%. But it could be good value depending on the rest of the sports books. For PrizePicks and Underdog, it's entirely different. You're not looking necessarily for value across all of the sports books. You're instead looking for player props that have a high win percentage, a high likelihood of hitting, which I know sounds very, very obvious and easy, but you kind of have to understand how the sports betting landscape works. Like if you're placing, or I should say, if a sports book like a FanDuel, a DraftKings, if they deem a player prop likely to hit, they're going to charge more money for it. And I can kind of use our first play as an example of what I'm referring to. So the first play, and this is going to be on PrizePicks, it's NHL. Jason Robertson over 3.5 shots on goal. So if we're taking out PrizePicks for a second, which I'll get into, look at how all of these sports books price this play. Pinnacle is at minus 157. BetOnline is at minus 156. Those are two very sharp sports books in terms of pricing odds. DraftKings is at minus 135 and FanDuel is at minus 148. So all of these sports books that price odds individually, they're charging more juice towards the over, a pretty decent amount of juice towards the over, because they think that Jason Robertson is likely to go over this play. He's likely to go over 3.5 shots on goal. But the payout structure for a PrizePicks and Underdog is entirely different. Every single two-leg entry on PrizePicks, you're going to double your money every single time. 3 legs for PrizePicks, I think, is 5x. 4 legs, I think, is 9x, something like that. But it doesn't matter what plays you add individually. The payout structure is the exact same. So when I say you want to find player props that are likely to hit, I mean, you let the sports books themselves tell you what player props they deem are likely to hit, and those would be very, very valuable on PrizePicks. Because of the payout structure, we're not paying any extra juice on PrizePicks. It's the same exact payout structure, whether you're playing a play that FanDuel has at minus 148 or at plus 112. You could take Jason Robertson's over or under shots on goal. FanDuel is telling you it's incredibly more likely to occur. So that's kind of the strategy behind everything when it comes to PrizePicks. So everything is kind of derived from these no-vig odds here. All odds have a win percentage associated with them. So minus 126 is what OddsJam calculates the perfect line of this to be, the true line for this market. Has a win percentage of about 58, just below 56%, as you can see right here. So OddsJam, based on the perfect line, thinks that this should be priced at minus 126, which has a 55.84% win percentage associated with it. So OddsJam and all the sharp books are telling you this should hit roughly 55.84% of the time. That's pretty good. Obviously, it's above 55%. We're not paying any extra juice for that because we are using PrizePicks, but it's likely to hit. So this is our first leg, and I'm going to have, I think, 9 player props for you guys to lock in. So you can divvy that up 1-6. If you do 1-5 flex, 1-4 straight up, however you want to divvy up these 9 player props, I kind of leave up to you. I will say, in terms of value, the best value is to do a 5 or a 6 pick flex. 4 straight up power play is the next best odds. So if you want to do 1-5 pick flex, 1-4 pick power play, that would be a good way to maximize these 9 player props. Second play, NBA. I actually locked this one individually as a regular player prop. Jordan Poole to go over 23.5 points. So PrizePicks has this at 23.5, no extra juice for it. The OddsJam perfect line prices this at -126, giving us a win percentage of, again, below 50, just below 56% at 55.78%, as you can see right here. And then if you want to know why it's priced so high up, so likely to occur, we'll just look at every other sportsbook and where they price it. It's all the way up to -178 on XBet. Pinnacle, which I mentioned is a very sharp sportsbook, at -152, and then DraftKings at -140, Caesars at -143. They're all giving you or telling you that how likely they think that Jordan Poole is to go over 23.5 points, which makes this a really good play. That's number 2. Number 3, back to the NHL and the Wild versus Coyotes game. So different than the first one, different game. Nick Schmaltz to go under 2.5 shots on goal. The OddsJam perfect line, pulling odds from the sharpest sportsbooks in the world, price this at -124, and we are getting it, which associates, to a win percentage of 55.41%. And because we're taking it on PrizePicks, we are not paying for any extra juice, any extra charging for this being likely to occur. Pinnacle at -164, BetOnline at -156, 2 of the sharpest sportsbooks, as I mentioned. DraftKings at -130, FanDuel all the way at -156, and then the rest of them -131, and then BetRivers at -137. This is also a good play to take on Underdog as well. So you can put this Nick Schmaltz one in on PrizePicks and Underdog as my third play. Next up, we are looking at the Clippers versus Nets game, so NBA, and we're looking at Paul George to go over 2.5 made three-pointers. The OddsJam perfect line, pulled from the sharpest sportsbooks in the world, have this priced at -122. The win percentage for this one is just below 55%, literally just below at 54.98%. Looking at where all the other sportsbooks price it, looks like Pinnacle is down at -134, DraftKings at -130, and then FanDuel up at -158, BetRivers at -150, BetOnline at -145. Really good price here from what all these sportsbooks are telling us on this Paul George one. So this is the next play, Paul George over 2.5 made three-pointers. Next up, staying in the NBA, going to the Kings versus Rockets game, we're looking at Kenyon Martin to go under 6.5 rebounds. OddsJam perfect line prices this just below -122. Essentially, we can call it -122, which gives us a win percentage still that just below that 55% mark at 54.9. I think anything that is like 54.5% and above is going to be mathematically profitable in terms of how the payout structure works for PrizePicks. So we're still squarely above that. Looking at the sports books, again, you can see -140, the closest one being -130, -135, majority of them in the -140s, which is obviously the most important part here. Next up, going back to the NHL, Calgary Flames versus New York Rangers game. Looking at Blake Coleman to go under 2.5 shots on goal. OddsJam perfect line pricing this at about -121.5, close to that. Win percentage still getting close to that 55% mark at 54.87%. Looking at the sports books, odds range from -138 up to -145. Good play here. Next up, back in the NBA, we're looking at Kristaps Porzingis under 2.5 assists. This is in the Cavs versus Wizards game. -120 odds. Win percentage still above that 54.5% rate. Looking at all the other sports books, we see odds range from -130 up to looks like -142, -143, something like that. Good play here. And let's see, I have 2 more. I'll go through these quickly. NHL, Canucks versus Devils, Jasper Bratt under 2.5 shots on goal. So we're getting to about the closest win percentage, so about 54.4%, just under that, where these are still mathematically profitable given the payout structure of PrizePicks. Jesper Bratt under 2.5 shots on goal. And back in the NBA, Mike Conley over 1.5 made 3-pointers. And that's it. So 9 player props for you guys. Lock these in on PrizePicks and the ones that are also available on Underdog. And that's it. So appreciate everybody watching and have a good one.